Welcome back to Just Got Radio on BJPENN.com. I'm your host, Cole Shelton, episode 134. We got a really good lineup ahead of UFC Vegas 78 and BKFC 48. First up, we're going to be joined by Bryce Hall to preview his co-main event fight on BKFC 48 against G. Perez. If you don't know Bryce Hall, he's a very famous YouTuber and influencer, has millions of followers, had a boxing match against a fellow YouTuber, Austin McBroom, back in 2021, lost that, and now he's deciding to go into bare knuckle. So really interesting chat with Bryce, who's obviously a millionaire, doesn't need to do this, but he said he was really excited to fight bare knuckle. He's fighting G. Perez, who's a perfect 3-0 in bare knuckle, but he thinks he's going to be way too explosive, way too powerful for G. And he's really confident he'll get the win. But an interesting chat overall, just about why he's doing this, because obviously he doesn't need to at all. But we're then be joined by one half of the main event, Vicente Luque, to preview his fight against RDA. This is a very intriguing fight. I did talk to Vicente before the news came out that he had the brain hemorrhage, so couldn't talk to him about that, but he wanted the year off. He said that was good for him. After that loss to Jeff Neal, he figured he was going to be about a year. He really just wanted to make sure he was completely healthy before returning, but obviously coming off back-to-back loss to Jeff Neal, Bilal Muhammad, he wasn't really sure what was going to be next, but he's pumped he gets the opportunity to fight RDA, a fellow Brazilian legend. He's really looking forward to fighting. We're then going to be joined by the one half of the main event in BKFC 48, and John Dodson preview his fight for the flyweight title against JR Ridge. John said this was not the original opponent for the title. JR is coming off 2 straight wins, but John said that a lot of people have been turning him down. It's been hard to get in fights at bare knuckle. A lot of these guys aren't too interested in him, but he thinks once he gets the belt, then a lot of that will start to change. We're then going to be joined by Chris Daukaus to preview his fight against Khalil Roundtree. Obviously, they were supposed to fight back in June at UFC 289. A slight injury to Chris postponed it. He wasn't really sure what was going to happen, but he's happy that it gets rebooked. He's looking forward to fighting Khalil, and he thinks he has all the tools to get the job done. Then we close things out talking to Isaac Dulgarian and Francis Marshall. They're actually fighting each other. Isaac finally making his UFC debut, 5-0 against Francis Marshall, 7-1. Both these guys are young prospects, so it is kind of interesting that the UFC's matching them up. Isaac was supposed to fight in January against Daniel Orgetta, had to pull out of that fight. If you remember, he got the full send deal. We wrote the article on BJPENN about it when I talked to him in January. That hasn't come to fruition. It still hasn't come to fruition. He doesn't know if it will at this point, but so he's just really looking forward to getting his first UFC win and just proving that he is a guy that they should have given him the contract to. But be sure to share the show, subscribe, and tune in next week for another episode of Just Scrap Radio. All right, we're joined by Bryce Hall, who's got a bare knuckle fight in August. Bryce, how's it going, man?
We're just jumping right into it. Hey, what's up, man?
Yeah, right into it. Obviously, it surprised me when I found out you're fighting bare knuckle. Like, what kind of drew you? Because I know you were hinting at going back into combat sports. I think everyone assumed boxing. Like, where did bare knuckle kind of come into play?
I wanted to be the first and only influencer to do it.
You don't think after you do it, like anyone will be interested in doing it?
I think people are going to say that they're interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're probably going to watch my fight back and then not want to do it. or like watch somebody else do it and then be like, yeah, maybe I'll just stick to the 12 ounces on my hands.
Yeah, you see like these fights and like the cuts they kind of have. Like, is that something that you're just ready to kind of embrace and go like head on to?
Yeah, and I think doing it with the cut man himself, like I think it's perfect, right?
Were you hoping to fight like another influencer, someone like that, or like were you wanting like a bare knuckle veteran, like, or did it not really matter to you?
I wanted a bare knuckle fighter.
Yeah. Oh, why then?
Um, because as crazy as it sounds, I have a lot of advantages on this guy.
It does sound kind of crazy, like to the average person, but obviously I know you like ever since the fight kind of never stopped training. So like, why? Like, what kind of advantages do you think you have over the cut man?
I have height,
Yep.
strength, my natural weight. I walk around 190. He walks around like 155, and we're fighting at 165.
Is that going to be a tough cut getting down to 165 for you then?
I'm at 180 right now.
Yeah.
Uh, so like another 15 pounds, it's not gonna be that hard.
And was it like your management that reached out to Bare Knuckle, or did they kind of reach out to you? Like, how did that kind of all get started in the works?
So I saw Blueface, the rapper,
Mhm.
and like a few other influencers fight on it, but they used like gloves.
Yeah.
And then I saw like a bunch of clips on TikTok and my Instagram Reels actually, just like a bunch of like highlights of these bare knuckle fights, and I just kind of told my manager I want to do it. Like I want to try this. And my movie contract ended like a few months back, so it was like perfect timing. And the reason that I couldn't step back into like influencer boxing in itself was because of my movie contract. I
Mhm.
couldn't fuck on my face. Um, Now I can. So I'm like ready for this.
And was there like options for you to do boxing? Because I know like obviously first fight you lost, but you're still like one of the biggest names in influencer boxing that I feel like a lot of people would want to see you fight, like no matter who it is. Like, were there options or like offers to get back into that if you wanted it?
Oh yeah. Um, I kind of I'm 100% going to step back into influencer boxing, and obviously depending on this result of this fight, I get to pick and choose after this.
Mhm.
So being an 0-1 boxer, I can't go after like the names that I want to fight. Uh, but if I win this fight, or even stepping in, I get the creds of doing like a bare knuckle fight, not like with gloves. I get to pick basically any influencer that I want.
And then with training, like how do you train for bare knuckle? Because like I've talked to bare knuckle fighters a lot. Like some of them hit the bag without gloves on. Some of them just kind of wear like 4 ounce gloves, like MMA gloves. Like how do you kind of prepare for that?
I'm training just like it's an actual boxing match, but
Mhm.
if I had more time, I would have done like the whole hand prepping and practicing without my gloves and stuff like that. But um, I mean, it's just I just kind of want to like if I break my hand in a camp, I'm not going to be able to do the fight. So if I try
Mhm.
to prep my hands and I hurt my hands before the actual fight, I don't want to like pull out of this for like a stupid reason.
That is something I wanted to ask you about, is because a lot of bare knuckle fighters talk about how it's like all about having to land the right shots and not like throwing at 100% because it is pretty easy to break your hands. So, like, are you like, how are you kind of going about learning that? Because it is obviously a lot different than boxing with the big gloves that you were using. You can kind of throw whatever.
I mean, yeah, no, I'm not throwing haymakers. I know it doesn't take much to knock somebody out, especially like a guy like Perez. He's not a big dude.
Mhm.
So hit 45% of my power, I bet I can put him down. That sounds cocky, but I trust in my abilities.
And it has been a while since like the Austin fight, and I know you've never really left the gyms. Like, how much better do you think you will be, and like kind of like prove a lot of people wrong in this one?
I think I'm gonna get a lot of people pissed in this one. I think everyone expects me to go in there and get my ass kicked, but I think they're just gonna be shocked.
And you went down to Miami to watch his fight. Like, what did you make of his fight and his kind of bare knuckle career so far?
He was fighting a bum. Like he wasn't fighting somebody that was technical. He's a technical fighter, um, but he's fighting people that really don't have the experience. I don't even know how they pick his opponents. I think they just like walk around the street and just like point at a guy. Hey, you want some money?
And then I know at the weigh-ins, like he slapped you. It didn't really seem like much of a slap at all. Like, what did you kind of take away from that?
That caught me off guard. I thought we were gonna like do like the promo like oh yeah let's talk some shit to face, but I think he saw me stand up and I was like quite a bit bigger than him, and I think he felt threatened, so he threw a little slap on me, and it caught me off guard. I was just like, I don't even know how to react to this. Do I chase you? No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna just like eat it like a man.
Mhm. Do you worry about him maybe like pulling out? Because like obviously for him, like he is trying to be a fighter, and like losing to an influencer non-fighter, like probably isn't a good look for him.
I think regardless of whoever steps in that ring, no matter how experienced and unexperienced you are, it only takes one hit.
Mhm.
It only takes one punch to put somebody, and that can change the whole trajectory of a fight. He could be kicking my ass the entire time, and if I land one plus punch on his chin, he's out.
Mhm.
Like same vice versa. Like I
Mhm.
could be kicking his ass, and he lands one good punch on my chin, and I'm out. I think every single BKFC fighter and fan knows that it's not entirely about the skill and technicality of it. I think it's about the brutal and the balls to get in the ring, like the brutalness and the ball to get in that ring and fight without gloves.
And then I know Lorenzo Hunt offered to train you. A couple other bare knuckle guys have mentioned that. Like, what's that like for you to kind of see a lot of these guys that are respecting the sport kind of embrace you and like wanted you to be a part of this?
It actually does mean a lot. Nobody's like really clowning on me for my last fight performance. And they're willing to take me under their wing. I am going to go down to Florida and work with them a little bit, just on the grappling aspect. I know that's a little different from regular boxing. It's like you can actually like grab someone by the neck, you know, like that's a little different from like getting yelled at for tying up in boxing. So that's something I really want to work on with Lorenzo.
And how much will you just kind of pick his brain about like the bare knuckle fights? Because it is like a sprint, like 2 minute rounds. They go pretty quick, and like having like the being able to clinch and like kind of all different aspects. Like it is kind of that mixture between MMA and boxing. Like how much will you pick his brain? Just kind of about different rules or like kind of that you can kind of benefit you.
I think the main thing that I need to understand is the grappling aspect. I mean, I have a wrestling background, so I'm already pretty good with grappling. But yeah, using it to my advantage in a bare knuckle fight would be useful. So,
how do you kind of see this one playing out? Like it is a bare knuckle fight, like one punch kind of change everything, but like how do you see it? How do you envision it in your head?
I don't see myself losing.
Yeah. Say you go out there, say it is like a pretty flawless performance, you knock him out. Like, is this a one-off, or could you see yourself doing another bare knuckle fight?
That all just depends on how fucked up I get, right?
Yeah. For you, like, is the goal like still like this fight and hopefully one more this year in boxing, or do you think this will probably be it for you because it might take a while for you to get an opponent?
I have like I want to do 3 more influencer boxing matches,
Mhm.
and then I'm like done.
Mhm.
Uh, unless another one makes sense, obviously. Um, and I have like the 3 people that I want to do before like I just completely quit the sport, because I noticed like a lot of influencers, um, they're attempting to be like just full on professional fighters. I guess it's like a new lane for the influencer
Mhm.
scene. I just make fucking videos and I'm like an entertainer. I try to dip my toes in
Mhm.
every form of entertainment, and I'm doing this as an entertainment aspect. I have these 3 guys that I just want to beat all their asses and then just be done with this shit. It's like Deji, KSI, and Austin McBroom. I want that rematch.
Mhm.
Uh, not on his card, obviously. Um, but yeah, I want to do like those 3 people and then I'm done.
Is there an order you see that going down, or just as long as you fight those three?
I mean, it just depends. I mean, like I feel like the outcome of this fight all depends on who is my next like fight, right?
Mhm.
Uh, if it's a flawless performance, shit, KSI, I'm let's let's do that first, right? But I also feel like he thinks he's like this weird like anime super villain. He talks like he's like in like an anime or
Mhm.
something. Um, so I think maybe I treat him as such, and he's like the mob boss. Maybe he's the last one, and I
Mhm.
go for Austin first as like my real redemption. Um, and after watching Austin's past 2 performances, I think it would end the same way if I fought him. Again, like I think I would actually knock him out, not like a stupid bullshit stoppage. I think it would be like an actual knockout. Then maybe Deji, even though I respect the guy, to just get KSI, his little brother. I just beat his little brother, and then it's like, all right, KSI, my boss, let's fucking go. You know?
Mhm. And then like with these boxing fights, like you see like Austin doing his own show, you see KSI doing his own show. Like when you were first coming up, like did you have any interest ever in that of like making your own promotion? Like you see Jake has it too, or were you just always kind of only interested in the fighting aspect?
This is not my lane whatsoever. This is not my profession. I have experience fighting. I like
Mhm.
fighting. If I win or lose, I can take it on the chin and I can walk away and still continue my career path. Like I
Mhm.
never even thought I was going to do like a massive influencer boxing scene. I didn't think as many people even cared to watch me do like a boxing match, like a fucking TikToker, well,
Mhm.
like punching another dude in the face. But I'm here and I'm doing it, and I'm going to continue to do it. And those last three people after this fight, and I'm done. Unless like obviously it makes sense to do another one.
How much pressure then is on you this fight? Because like you lose this one, like it's 0-2, maybe those fights don't happen. But then, like we talked about, like you go out there and knock them out, it sets you up to kind of call your shot and get these big fights that you want.
I think regardless of the outcome, I still get those fights. But there's no pressure. It's like everyone expects me to lose.
Hmm.
Like and like I said, it doesn't matter how skilled you are in there. It's one punch. It's one punch and it changes everything. Like I'm not. There's no pressure whatsoever. If I go out, I go out. If I knock the guy out, fuck yeah, I got a dope highlight reel, right?
Hmm. Do you enjoy that? Like, because you are kind of being counted out by a lot of people, and like I imagine you'd be the underdog if betting odds come out just because he has the experience. Like, do you enjoy that where people are kind of underestimating you and overlooking you?
I mean, I don't enjoy it, but I also don't give a fuck. They're not the ones that are betting on me or betting against me. They're not the ones in the ring. It's me and that guy in the ring. It's me and Perez. That's the only thing I need to worry about.
Just final thing, like you're like a month older than me. I like watched a lot of your YouTube videos and stuff all the time. Like, how do you even have like time to like? I know you and like Josh run a lot of businesses together. Like, how do you even fit kind of time to do all this? Like, it seems like you're pretty busy all the
That
time.
that's what I'm trying to say. Like this is not like my full time thing. Like I have like a whole different lane that I'm like good at, and that's what I do. Like, and I appreciate you watching my videos and didn't say that. That means a lot. But this isn't like my full on profession. This isn't my job. This isn't like what I'm like born to do. Most of these people are doing it like because that's what they're good at and that's their like life destiny.
Mhm.
I'm doing this just for the entertainment. I do have time. Like I obviously train every single day, 2 times a day, but this is not my life. This is not my life. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna kick some fucking ass while I'm doing it. It's fun. It's fun. I like fighting. I'm a guy. It's cool. I'm not doing this for like my career path.
Yeah. Well, Bryce, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for doing this.
Hey, dude, thank you for having me. Seriously.
All right, we're joined by UFC welterweight Vicente Luque, who's back in action in August. Vicente, how's it going, man?
All good, man. All good. A pleasure to be here.
Uh, Obviously you're supposed to fight last weekend, like, and then you were moved to August. Like, what kind of was the reason for about the month delay?
So I was still kind of like I had some things waiting for me to be cleared, so I had to go run some exams and all. I was suspended after my last fight for 6 months. I got cleared from that suspension, but I still had some exams to run. And I think just because of the time frame, they preferred to have it in August, and that would be like a whole year after my last fight. So I don't know, mostly probably for safety on the commission side, but for me, either way, I would be ready, for last weekend, or I'm gonna definitely be even more ready for August 12th. So for me, it worked the same.
Your last fight, like against Jeff, like what do you take away from that one? Like obviously taking a full year off after that, like, what do you kind of take away from it?
Man, I had a lot of things going on, and I'm not gonna blame those things on my loss. I think that the biggest thing was Jeff. He went in there and he had a great game plan. I think that I was for a while kind of the same fighter, tough, really well rounded, dangerous on the stand up, dangerous on the ground, but kind of the same thing. And these guys have are studying, and Jeff had my game plan. He knew what to do against me, and it worked perfectly. He hits hard. He connected his left hand multiple times and was the first guy to ever knock me out. So, the biggest thing I think is props for him. He was able to really get my game down. And that's what I took from that. I realized that, yeah, at this level, I cannot stay the same. I cannot just reach a level where I think I'm good enough and remain over there, because these guys are improving every day, every week, every month. So I really had to, in a way, reinvent myself, but not at all go away from what I'm good. I'm never going to change completely what I am, because it has worked for me for so long, but definitely reinvent a lot of things that I had put aside a little bit and hadn't really given time to a lot of things, footwork, head movement. Everybody talks about that, and it is something that I had gone away from. So I think kind of these adjustments I've been doing now.
And then with like taking the year off, like is that something your team decided? Is that something you decide? Like I know you're obviously suspended 6 months, but to take longer than that to like make sure you're completely healthy, like whose kind of decision was that?
So I think it was kind of like a little bit of everybody. So the people I trust, Ali, Henry, my wife, and Gilbert Burns, and a lot of people that are close to me. They told me, this was a good moment considering I had 6 months of suspension, so I couldn't fight regardless. And in my mind was like, okay, let me take it slow. Let me just, take my time to recover, not rush into sparring, not rush into, wanting to get ready to fight again. Really rest for a while, kind of work on basics, really drill, really, go to the basic, fundamental training and build myself up again. And that's something I've never done since I've gotten into the UFC. I really haven't had time like that. I've never had a layoff so long, and especially a suspension that didn't permit me to really train. At least those 2 first months, I really had to take it slow. So it was a little bit different for me. So I agreed with them, and I thought about it. I really saw, it was gonna make sense. And now that it has been almost a year since my last fight, and now I have a fight and everything. I really look back and I say, hey, that was the best decision. I saw myself improve so much, not only technique, and physical. That's always good, and that has improved, but mostly I'm excited again, like I used to be back in the days, when I just got into the UFC. I'm not so much thinking about rankings and this guy and that guy, and now I need to beat this guy so that I can go forward. It's just enjoying this, and I know that when I enjoy this and when I have fun doing what I do, that's the best Vicente out there. That's the guy that is gonna go and put on the shows that I always am able to put. So that's why I have to be, and that's why I believe right now I'm being able to stay connected with this. Enjoy my family. Now we've moved to Florida, so enjoy this moment here. In a new place, in a new environment. So I think that was the biggest thing about this year off was a great decision.
And Rafael dos Santos, like former champion, like fought kind of the who's who. Like, how excited were you when you got when you found out this would be your comeback fight?
Man, that was like the perfect fight. I couldn't pick a better fight, and it was crazy how it happened because at a point like when I didn't have a fight and I had been a long time without fighting, and I just wanted, at least to have an idea of who I was going to fight against, at least have a verbal agreement so that I could, start focusing on someone. And me and Ali, we were talking a lot about, who are we going to get next and looking at the division, because at the same time, I am coming off 2 losses, but I'm still a top 10 in the UFC. So I want to move forward. I want to get into that mix, into that top part of the division. So it's not like I want to take any fight. I want a fight that is going to move me up. So we were thinking a lot because welterweight division is always really kind of, moving up and down. And then we really didn't know what was going to happen. And I was kind of here like training and trying to think. And Ali calls me and then he said to me, hey, I got a name for you. Rafael dos Anjos, what do you think? And I was like, man, this is a great fight, former champion. I didn't even know, like, because we never know if he was going to keep on fighting 170. Mm-hmm. He was going to go back down. So it was never a name that crossed my mind. But that's why Ali does what he does, and I am the fighter. And he got this fight. And he asked me if I wanted 3 rounds or 5 rounds. I say, hey, let's go 5 rounds. I only fought 5 rounds one time. That was against Bilal Muhammad for our second fight. And I really, I didn't win that fight, but I felt good physically. I felt like 5 rounds is not much different than 3. And in some aspects, it's even better because you can really, explore more kind of the game plan and try to break the guy down, even physically, I can my kicks can do more damage. My punches can little by little, go accumulating and kind of damage the guy. So I wanted 5 rounds and we got it. So yeah, I think it's a perfect fight. A former champion, 5-round main event, no better way to get back in there.
What have you kind of made of his last couple of fights? Like, obviously looked good against Barberena. Like, obviously suffered that loss to Fiziev, but still looked good in that fight. And like, even though he's getting up there in age, like he's still fighting at a very high level.
And that's the thing, about a guy like Rafael. He was a great champion, and he didn't have an easy run in the UFC. So once he got in there, he had a tough beginning. Then he built himself all the way up to become a lightweight champion, and has been an inspiration for me. I watched him fighting before I was in the UFC, so that's a big kind of model for me, for my career. And that's why I think he's so dangerous. That's why I think he has been looking so good. He's a guy that is always evolving, always trying to get better. And kind of, with age, things change. And I'm still young. I'm 31 years old, but a lot of things have changed. Like when I was 21, 22, I could, have a whole bunch, a whole week of really, really hard sessions, and I wouldn't get hurt. And if I did get hurt, you give me one night off, and next morning I was recovered. And now it's not like that. So we got to be smart. And that's what I think Rafael is, very, very smart. He knows how to, with time and with his age, advancing, he's being able to adapt his training and all that he does, the way he fights to get the best out of him. He knows how to pace the fight. He knows how to bring the fight towards, his territory. And I also think like a 5-rounder is something that he also is going to kind of enjoy because he's used to that. And that's also something that kind of excites me about this fight. It's fighting 5 rounds against a guy that has done that so many times in there. So, yeah, I think that's overall, it's a former champion, but very, very dangerous still. And I don't think he's going in there just to get a paycheck. I think he still believes he can have a run for the title. So I'm definitely excited for this fight.
RDA, like he's kind of built his career on being a super well-rounded guy. So like, how do you think you match up against him here?
I think that we're similar in that aspect. I just think that he has developed that at a higher level. And I believe that that's what I'm doing right now. I'm being able to get to that next level where I can do everything. I can wrestle guys if I need to. I can definitely grapple. That's one of my strong tools. And I can strike. That's also one of my strong tools. And I have knockout power and a lot of submissions in my game to threaten my opponents with. So I think we match up pretty similar in well-roundedness. I just think that the way that we approach fights is different. So I'm definitely a guy that can finish a fight at any moment. I have that power. I have that, danger, that threat. And I think that's something I have going for me. At no round, somebody can just relax. Even, let's say, against Jeff Neal, I was hurt in the first round. I still went in there in the second round and kept myself dangerous. Kept him. I believe that I connected more shots in the second round against Jeff. And I can tell you, I was in there. I was completely hurt. I was really, really dizzy through the whole fight. So that's something I know that I have going for me. And Rafael, on the other hand, he's a guy that he knows how to use the wrestling on his advantage. So if the fight is getting difficult, either standing up or on the ground, he's going to switch it up. He's going to try to go to the other place where he can put something that he's going to dominate with. So I think it's going to be kind of a chess match, but an exciting one. Whenever I'm in there, it's exciting.
And then with this one, like how you've kind of said a couple times, like you've got this next level just in that time off. Like how different of a fighter do you think you will be? Like, this fight compared to the last? Like how big of a difference do you think that will make then?
I think that right now I kind of like started to match my level of experience. I have more than 30 fights, 19 in the UFC. So I have a long career. I've been fighting professionally since 2009. So I've been able to match that experience with the skill that I have and the skill that I can still, develop. So I think that now is when I'm really looking at my skills in a different way, not only kind of like seeing what I can do, but also the things that I can develop, where I can learn new things and implement that in my game, and just really kind of be a fighter that fights kind of like in every area, kind of complete, you know. So before I was kind of a really pressure fighter. I walk forward, I put pressure, I hit, but sometimes I get hit to hit, you know, and that's something that I realize, like, yeah, I don't need to get hit to be able to hit my opponents, you know. I have the skill in me not to get hit and be able to punish him. I have the skill in me to put a guy down if I need to, even though I haven't done that much. And much of it was because I wanted to go out there and just, you know, slug it out and bang it out, you know. And now I think that I'm at this different level where my experience shows me that I have different paths and paths where I can use my skill to really be dominant and go out there and have great performances, not just fight of the nights, but performances of the nights. Go out there and completely dominate my opponents. That's my plan from here on.
And then this is your 20th UFC fight. Like, what's that like for you to already hit 20? And like, it seems kind of crazy it's happened this quick. Like, you already at 20.
Yeah, I know, man. For me, it's an honor, and I think that, you know, I'm since a young age, because I started fighting at 17 years old. I was always kind of rushing into things. So I got to the UFC. I was 23, and in my mind, I was old already. You know, I wanted to be younger, and then, you know, I wanted to be champion soon, and that's why I think that I have so many fights, because I always wanted, you know, to get to places quickly. And now I'm realizing, like, okay, we you know, we don't need to rush that much. Everything will happen in its due time, and everybody has a different time for things. But still, I think it's amazing how much I've accomplished, you know, until up to this point. And when I look, especially, like, I'm 31 years old, I'm going to my 20th fight, and I look a lot of the records that are being set. You know, I can chase those records. You know, I could chase more fights in the UFC, more finish in the UFC. And that's something that excites me as well, you know, not only being a champion, but being a champion that holds a lot of important records, and maybe setting the bar, you know, for the future generations to really look at me and say, hey, I want to beat this guy's record, because this is the guy that has done it the best.
And then I know you said you moved out to Florida. Like, is that full-time move now? Like, you're training at Killcliff, or you still kind of bounce between Brazil and Florida?
No, that's now full-time move. I'm here for good. You know, me, my wife, and my son, we've moved here. Uh, you know, it's been uh, a challenge in a way. You know, we're really, really attached to our family. So my mom is in Brazil, and all of my mom's family is there. And my wife, both sides, you know, of the family are all in Brazil. So for us, you know, it was challenging in that aspect, but we knew for my career and for our goals as a family, this was the move to make, and we came here. We're loving, you know, the life here in the U.S. We've been, you know, blessed to be able to come here with great, you know, opportunities, and be able, you know, to be at a great gym like Killcliff. I've trained here for so many years with the same guys for so many years, but now really that I'm here, I feel like part of the family completely. They really have kind of embraced us and made us feel at home, and it's been great.
With RDA, like, how do you kind of see this one playing out? Because he's obviously a super durable guy. Like, before Fiziev finished him in that fifth round, it was like 2016. Like, he doesn't get finished often. So, like, how do you kind of see it playing out?
Man, it's hard to tell. You know, I've been trying to predict things, and I never get it right, because I think whenever I'm in there, it's like I'm never really trying to finish my opponent, but I always, whenever I see an opportunity, I go for it. And in a long fight, that sometimes presents itself many times, and I'm gonna go after it. And if the guy can withstand whatever I try to do to him, you know, it's gonna be a long fight. So in this fight, you know, knowing the durability of RDA, knowing all his experience, I definitely don't predict an easy fight. I think it's not going to be easy, but I do believe I can finish him. I do, you know, believe that I'm going to have the skills to put whatever I need to finish him, being on the ground or striking. You know, I think I can finish him in both aspects. And that's what I'm going to be trying there. I'm going to go out there, try to dominate from bell to bell, and yeah, then we'll see what's going to happen.
Just a couple more things. Like, you do get past RDA. Like, what do you think a win does to you? Like, I know you said earlier you're not too focused on the rankings right now, but obviously you still are in the top 10, and like beating a former champ can do nothing but kind of good things for your career.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard really to plan. So I haven't planned anything for after this because I got to beat him first. So that's where my mind is at. But when I look at a guy like RDA and look at me to what I have accomplished in the division and where I sit right now, I think a win over him is going to put me back into the mix. And right now is a big moment. The title is not with Kamaru anymore. That was such a dominant champion. So now Leon has that title, and we'll see who's going to challenge him. But we have so many things going on in the division, so I think it's a great moment, for me to get a big win and get back into that mix. And that's what I think a win over RDA would do to me, kind of get me back to the talks of guys that could soon be fighting for the title. And that's what I think it's going to do for me. But as I said, first I gotta, complete the task that is at hand. The mission is to go out there and dominate RDA.
And then, like, with that title, like, there is kind of no guy they've announced. Like, obviously, they think it's Colby. Be like, for you, do you think it should be Colby? Or do you think it should be Bilal getting that next title shot?
Man, for me, it's got to be Bilal. Bilal, just beat a great friend of mine, Gilbert Burns. And I mean, even though I know what went through that fight, I know how hard it was for Gilbert to get injured and fight through it like he did. Still, Bilal got a win over probably the toughest guy in the division right now, the guy that has been fighting everybody, the guy that fought 3 times this year alone. So when you see that, you put that win with all the other wins that Bilal has. In my mind, he has to get the title fight. Kobe, his last win has aged, not really well, and he hasn't been active. So for me, it's just something that it doesn't excite me. I don't think it's a big challenge to put him. Even though I think maybe he can go out there and win, but I wouldn't put him as a favorite. I wouldn't put him even as a challenging opponent just because of his inactivity. I don't think that's something that should be rewarded per se. If he fights and if he earns his way up there, if he earns the wins, then okay, put him to fight. But if not, I think Bilal is the one that deserved that title shot.
And just final thing, like, fighting middle of August. Like, I know you had a year off. Like, do you think this is it for you? You're still hoping like everything goes your way? Like, you maybe can squeak in one more and hopefully in front of fans now that you're back at the Apex for this one too.
Yes, man. I want to go back to fighting in front of the fans. That hypes me up so much. And it's hard to tell. I'm gonna be fighting now in August, so and it's a 5-rounder. We never know what's gonna happen with that. Even getting a big win, I could maybe kind of get hurt or something like that. So I gotta wait and see what happens. But I do think that if everything goes my way and everything goes as planned, I can still, get one maybe end of the year, maybe December, something like that. But I'm definitely not going to be rushing into it. That's something that I definitely learned from this time off. It was good. It made me evolve. It made me a better fighter. It made me hungrier to fight. It made me miss wanting to fight, miss wanting to step in that octagon. So I'm going to get this fight. I'm going to go out there, do what I need to do. And after we do that, then I can think about what's going to happen next. But for now, I'll keep all the possibilities open.
Oh, well, Vicente, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for doing this again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, we're jumping John Dodson, who's fighting for the BKFC flyweight title in August. John, how's it going, man?
Hey, man, I'm just sitting there getting ready to go punch him in the mouth.
Obviously, you've had a lot of success in bare knuckle, and whenever we've talked, we've also talked about this 125 division. Like, how kind of happy are you that it's starting and you're kind of fighting for that the first title?
Oh man, I'm excited that I go ahead and fight for the inaugural flyweight title for the BKFC. Like, being in the square circle, I've been easy to toe the line with everybody else and making them look so easy, and not even in my league. So this is a sport that's been geared towards me and sitting there my stylistically perfect for me.
And then with J.R. Ridge, like how familiar were you with him when you got the offer to fight him?
I'm very familiar with him. I've seen previous his fights. I've seen how well he moves around inside that squared circle. And the only times that he has a hard time is dealing with pressure, with heavy pressure fighters. And we already see what kind of fighter I am. I a ton of pressure, and I push the pace for anybody that I want to.
And then I know whenever we've talked, you've also wanted to do these rising fights in between. You had the chance to fight back in May. Like, how kind of glad are you that you got that done? Because it keeps you pretty busy rather than having to fight from February until all the way to August.
Oh, I know. Like right now, it's been a blessing in disguise that I get to go ahead and bounce around both with BKFC, doing bare knuckle boxing, and also be jumping back in with Ryzen for MMA. So I keep myself very active, and hopefully I can try to do put my foot in the water in some actual boxing matches.
And then with this one, like I know you've last like when you've been making 25 for a while, like even your last couple in bare knuckle, does anything change having to make 25 on the dot now that it's for the belt?
Not at all, because you've already seen how well I weigh in.
Mm-hmm.
At 125, get on the dot, especially when it comes to MMA and bare knuckle boxing. Even both my bare knuckle fights, I weighed in exactly on the dot. Actually, I think when I fought Ryan Benoit, I weighed in at 130, but I was already previously intended to make 124.
With that, like you had a lot of success against Ryan at the 130, and like, was there any ever thought of like, because you look good at that weight, like, did you ever think like maybe I'm just gonna have to win the title at that division then?
I'd rather flyweight because I keep on fighting that I'm the most dangerous flyweight in the world. So being a person, I always want to be a man of my word. I want to prove it to the world.
With this one, like, how do you think you match up against JR then?
Of course, we already know I'm coming out there knowing that I'm sacrificing both my hands and solidify that win. I'm going to do it within the first round and try to make sure I'm not going the distance. I'm going to make sure I have everybody terrified to even want to step in that square circle.
And title fight in Albuquerque as well. Like, how much does that add to it that you get a fight at home for the belt?
And fight at home is just a pleasure. Like, it's an added bonus because my friends and family get to go ahead and enjoy the celebration after I win.
And your brother's on the card as well. Like, I think that's what, 3 or 4 now bare knuckle fights in a row for you like that. It's like, what's it kind of like having him a part of fight week now all the time?
That's amazing because like my brother's always been a part of my fight week, making sure I've been either traveling out in the UFC, going in with all these other fights with the Ryzen and stuff like that. He's always been a part of my corner, and I can't not be a part of his as well. This is gonna be the night that we get to go ahead and have the same shared adventure, just with different aspects. Like he's gonna go out there and solidify this fact and being a number contender for that featherweight title, and I'm gonna go out there and just win that title.
Do you enjoy, like, especially with how he's kind of doing it in bare knuckle, like you guys are getting a lot closer to fighting each other? Like, do you wish you were still kind of further apart and there was more fights in between you guys so you guys could still corner and watch each other? Or are you still gonna corner him?
Corner, I'm making sure that my brother always has my I'm always so whether I win, lose, or draw, I'm gonna sit there and be there for him all the time.
Any little side bets or anything on who gets the quicker knockout? It seems like both you guys just keep one-upping each other.
Keep on one-upping each other, but we already know I'm gonna have the upper hand on this one because of the fact that mine comes with a shiny belt.
Mm-hmm. And does it add any pressure, like fighting for a title, or is it to you? Is it just another fight because you fought for like belts before all the time?
Another fight. I want to make sure I can go out there and win it for the hometown. Like I want to do it for myself, of course, but at the same time, we're at home and everybody else is there and want to embrace the fact that I am still that number one killer in the world. Sorry, flying around at China.
How do you kind of see it playing out with Jared? Like a lot of your bare knuckle fights aren't lasting too long. Like you're showing off a lot of the power without the gloves. How do you kind of see it playing out?
See it playing out the exact same way like the other two have. He's gonna taste the power. Doesn't want to stand and bang with me. Like I'm gonna hit him so many different times in so many different areas that he's gonna be thinking that he got jumped by actually the Dodson brothers.
It's kind of even crazy to ask, but like, especially how good your MMA career is. But do you think you're better at bare knuckle than you are at MMA?
Yes, because of the fact that now I don't have to worry about being taken down. I can be more push the pace in, and not only that, I can bounce in and out, making sure that these fights are going to be designed how they're supposed to be. People get hit by my fists and land on their back.
And then with this one, like you win the belt, like what do you think that does for your legacy, adding the bare knuckle title to your resume?
I think it makes it kind of puts me into a higher category. You know, everyone wants to do boxing, but boxing isn't really like their whole genre of what we do. As mixed martial artists, bare knuckle boxing is more geared towards us because we can go ahead and be in and out and be as loose as possible, and the fact that we can go ahead and clinch. The high clinch is one of the things that we, as mixed martial arts, use a lot because we clinch in against cage and close quarters, and we start allowed to continuously throw barrages of punches in that exchanges. Once we boxing world, that's when everyone like understand we have to take time off, that separate us, and we don't get to do our real punishing power. So everyone gets to see me and highlight that version of myself all the time.
And I'm not sure if you know, but obviously Bryce Hall is on your card, who's like this big influencer YouTuber. Like, does that add some excitement that it's gonna bring a lot more eyeballs to you fighting?
No. If fighting for the world's largest stage of mixed martial arts, fighting with the UFC, fighting for the title, fighting on pay-per-view, main events, everything possible, how's this kid gonna sit there and bring more eyes than already? Like in the fight world, he's coming into something that is different to him. He has to be an influencer and has to learn how to be a fighter. And for him, this is not going to be in the same type of category that he's been pushing the envelope for everyone else. Like we've seen those celebrity boxing and those influence boxing with Jake and Logan Paul, everybody else coming with that, KSI and everything like that. But eventually they realize that they're going to need more discipline in being actual fighters. Like he's not trying to beat up any retired MMA fighter. He's actually trying to fight a guy who's currently on the roster, currently in his active prime, and we'll see how well he fares.
You get past JR, like do you know who would be next, or is it to you like it really doesn't matter, just kind of whoever bare knuckle gives you?
Being honest with you, JR wasn't the opponent for this fight. So the form I was supposed to get was Reggie Barnett, but his mom told him that he wasn't allowed to fight. So since the champion at 135 was too much of a chicken shit to fight me, I literally have to go ahead and deal with second best. So hopefully I'm going to go ahead and, I'm not even saying hopefully, when I knock out JR Ridge, I will get the opportunity to fight Reggie Barnett. And if Reggie Barnett doesn't want to take me at 25, I'll more than gladly invite myself into 135 just so I can teach his ass a lesson.
Why don't you like him? Is it just because he's turned you down, or like is there anything there?
Sit there and call me a lollipop guild and sitting there acting like I am beneath you in this world of bare knuckle when you have to get permission from your mother to fight me. Like I don't care what anybody has to say. If your mom is controlling your life and you're in your 30s, I mean, you're not a real man.
Mm-hmm.
So a man like you want to sit there and fight me when you cannot fight me at all. Like if you have permission, that's not the way to go.
Do you have a preference on that fight being at 25 or 35, or does it not matter as long as you can get a chance to fight him?
I don't even care. Like, don't disrespect me. If my name's in your mouth, you better be willing to knuckle up and just have my fist run through your face. Like,
and then when is kind of that time frame? Like, is it are you hoping another MMA fight then this year? Like another bare knuckle? Like what's kind of the rest of the year look like for you then?
How I look at it is I'm going to do another MMA fight as soon as I finish up this one. And whenever I get done with that, I want that negotiations to talk really clear. Because last fight's on both of these contracts.
Oh, this is your last fight on bare knuckle?
My next one after this.
Okay. How far away do you think you are from the Ryzen title? Because it seems like you're getting pretty close to that.
I don't know, because I kept on calling out Horiguchi. You know, all of a sudden Horiguchi gets to fight for the Bellator and Ryzen flyweight inaugural title, and I'm kind of pissed off because my name wasn't even out. I've been literally stomping through everybody and, head kicking everybody or soccer kicking everybody throughout, like, everybody, anything that's coming through in Ryzen, and they gave it to somebody else. Like, shouldn't you? That's another thing. I've been calling these people out. If they are so keen to say they're the best fighters in the world, step up to the plate. I've proven my abilities in going out, knocking out top contenders and dropping top contenders. Sure, nobody wants to fight me in MMA or bare knuckle. So shut the hell up and let's go.
And then with that, like with Bellator starting a flyweight division, like was there any ever talks of you signing with Bellator to be a part of that? Because it seems like you would be like the most logical fit to help kick off a flyweight division there.
you know what? I would have been so disrespected by them, but they sat there and said, I'm not even worth their time. So for me to go out there and stomp out Horiguchi because he's a Bellator fighter, it would be more of ice on the cake for me to tell them that they need to put their money where their mouth is now.
Just final thing, like, do you kind of think you're starting to get a lot more respect, like, even outside the UFC? Like, you see a lot of these guys outside the UFC, like, a lot of them people don't pay attention to them. It seems like with you, like, you're still getting your following. Like, it seems like a lot of people are still realizing, like, how kind of dangerous you are, even though you aren't in the UFC anymore.
Kind of embarrassing to even say that because of the fact that I thought I was a more dangerous fighter in the UFC than anyone else. And every time anybody got into the octagon with me, they were too unorthodox, uneasy. Shit, even look at Marbid. Marbid Avafili sat there and going out there trying to hit another breakthrough takedown on his opponents, and he only, at a 24 takedowns, he only secured 2 of them. I stopped a lot of them, making sure they do what he wanted to do. And at will, I was able to touch him up and punch him in his face.
And you even turned Peter Yan into a wrestler. I guess looking back on that, like, you did turn a lot of these guys into wrestlers. Like, not many guys in the UFC did want to stand with you.
Peter Yan turned into a wrestler really quick as soon as I dropped him in the second round. And the fact of the matter is, that dude hasn't ever been dropped since then. Like, that's the worst part. Like,
do you enjoy that then? And like in bare knuckle, where you don't have to worry about these takedowns, and like people actually are forced to stand and fight you?
Of course, because I love to stand and bang. Like, I'm tired of sitting there grappling in like my earlier careers of MMA, where I sat there, had to win fights by my wrestling ability and my jiu-jitsu. Now I can just go ahead and just knock people out.
Well, John, I appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much for doing this again.
For having me on.
All right, we're jumping UFC light heavyweight now. Chris Daukaus, who's returning in August now. Chris, how's it going, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. We obviously did this like a couple months ago when you're supposed to fight in Vancouver.
Yeah.
I think it was like almost like the next week you had to pull out. Like, what kind of happened? Like, what kind of happened that made you have to pull out of that fight?
So I'm not gonna give away the quote unquote injury in which I had. Getting things in order for the fight, medical checks, different kind of crazy stuff. Continuing fight camp. All of a sudden, something came up. Talked to a bunch of doctors, talked to the UFC doctor, kept everybody in the loop. Pretty much found out, I want to say the Wednesday before the fight, maybe Thursday before the fight, that the fight was off. So I had a doctor, I had to get a small procedure done. Literally, the procedure took a total of 8 minutes. And, I was in and out of the doctor's office under my own power. There was really no recovery time. There was a recommended recovery time by all the doctors in which I've seen. I took that recovery time. And, it was kind of crazy because I had one doctor telling me that I could get the procedure done on a Thursday and then I could fly out to the event and then I could fight. But then I had the UFC doctor and then I had like 3 other doctors who were like, probably shouldn't do that. So I was like, all right. So the UFC doctor and the other 3 doctors superseded that other doctor. So yeah, so now we're here. Kind of like a hard reset, I guess, for the fight camp. Took the recovery time off, staying away from like the super hard stuff, super hard sparring, super hard drilling, but like still actively doing things, which was really good. And I had like a mental reset as far as, because who likes to think about a singular moment or a singular person for, coming up on 4 months now, when we actually fight. So it was a good little break, little mental break.
How disappointing was it having to pull out, like getting out to Vancouver in front of fans, like light heavyweight debut? Like, it's been a while for you to fight. Like, how hard is that to have to pull out?
That sucked, man. It absolutely sucked. I'm not like, I was crushed. Just to, get to 205, showcase everything, the different skill sets in which that I'm adding to the game. Especially in front of fans. And I've never been in Canada before. It was like really cool. So like go out there. Now I get to fight at the Apex, super small UFC cage. And there's like 10 people in the crowd. So yeah.
Before we get into the Apex stuff, like the weight, like 205, I know when we talked, I think it was like 2.5 weeks out from the fight when we talked, like, and like everything was kind of on point. Like, what do you do then when it gets delayed? Like, do you start like adding a bit more size and stop the diet, or do you just kind of stay to where you were?
No, I had like pizza and shit. Yeah, I had a meal. I had like a bad meal, and that was it. You know, the fight got pushed back. I was like you were saying, I was like 2 weeks out. I was ready. The weight was already low. I had a bad meal, and then that was pretty much it. And then I was back on everything. I kept my weight up a little bit longer than I did last camp. So like I was like 35, like 235, 230. Like right after that happened, and I was just hanging out there. So right now I'm under 230. So we're what, however many weeks out we are, and I'm ready to go.
Right now we are.
Yeah, it's like three and a half. Yeah, something like that. So yeah, I mean the weight's good. I'm eating the same shit every day, so I'm kind of a creature of habit. So if I find something that works for me, then I'll stick to it.
Were you surprised that you were able to get the weight down so low, like, and like it wasn't a challenge like a 205 then?
No, because I ate like shit. Like I literally ate like I ate horrendous as a heavyweight. Like there'd be times when I'd be like get done training or get done sparring, and I'd go and get pizza, and I would just be like, all right, cool, got my food in, got whatever I needed, and I'm actually like taking care of myself and like taking care of my body because I actually have to now because I have to make weight. But yeah, dude, it's awesome. I like being this lean. My wife hates it because she sees like that, like, I'm always eating the same thing. And like occasionally she'll be like, hey, let's like go get a pizza, or like, hey, can we go out on a date? And I'm like, yeah, we can go out on a date, but I can't eat anything, or I'm not going to eat anything because I have to make weight. So we can't do this. So she's suffering along with me. So it's good.
And then with Khalil, like I know when you had to pull out, there was the report that maybe they were trying to keep him on the card. Nothing came to fruition. Like, were you surprised they just rebooked it? Like, or did you really not know?
I honestly didn't know like what it was. Like if he was going to try and stay on the card, if they were going to scrap the fight entirely, if they were just going to push our fight back. So I honestly didn't know. I didn't have any idea what the game plan was. I kind of just told the UFC when this injury came up, obviously kept them in the loop. And it was kind of like, hey, if you guys want to keep this fight, we're totally cool with it. If you want to keep him moving and if he wants to fight sooner than what you're offering, there's going to be no hard feelings on my end. It was my fault that the original fight got scratched anyway. So there's really nothing I can say. So, thanks to him for keeping the fight. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
With this one too, like now having an additional like 2 months, like how do you kind of not get burnt out in like camp, and like, because now all of a sudden like this camp has gone from like it was already a pretty long one, and now you add another 8-10 weeks on it, can kind of like make it a lot longer and just like a lot more tiring just having to focus on Khalil for that long.
Yeah, it definitely sucks. But like I was saying, like when I did receive word of like the injury and that fight not happening, I did take like a week as far as like mentally. Like of course I was still in the gym. I was doing things that I was allowed to do and, not allowed to do, making sure that, I was still keeping up my fitness level and keeping up like the reaction times and stuff like that. But that good little like week reset was good for me. It was like okay, treat this as like fight week, and then we're going to reset, get right back into camp. And that's really all I did. I mean, if I'm being honest with you, if I don't have a fight lined up or if I'm not in fight camp, I kind of just like feel lost. Like I have to have like some sort of objective or like goal in mind, outside of, just getting better in the gym, outside of like getting better like striking or jiu-jitsu. Outside of those goals, I have to have something. That's just the way that my mind works and the way that I am.
And then with like just extending it, like does anything change like training or game plan wise, having more time to look into it, or is it still the exact same as it was?
No, I mean we have a really good game plan for this fight, and it's really just about continuing that and making sure that everything is now thoroughly on point. as far as, every little, thing that we were, maybe like sketchy about going into the last fight, there should be no reason why anything should change in this one. So.
And then with fighting, like, it is a whole mental game too. Like, how do you mentally like not feel down like 3 losses, like especially like because confidence is a big thing in fighting, and like how do you have to keep that like going? Because like you were like what 4-5-0 in the UFC at one point, like riding high, like everyone was talking about you, and then all of a sudden you lose a couple. Like how do you kind of get back to that point where you like are confident in yourself still going into these fights?
I'm 100% confident, man. It's about, just knowing your abilities and your capabilities, and it's about performing. And I got no problem with performing. The guys who beat me, they're better than me. They're, the number 3, the number 4 guy at the time. And Rosenstrike was like 7th or something like that. So those are the top guys in the world. I have no qualms about that. Like I want to fight the best guys. And, you're not going to beat every best guy in the world. I wish I could. But, these things happen. It's accepting that, in life, shit's not going to always go your way. And you just have to accept that. And what can you do? You could either just like, be all, depressed and everything about it, which I was. I'm not trying to say that I wasn't, but like it sucks losing on the world stage. Like everyone is like making memes out of you or making gifts out of you. Yeah, it sucks. But for the most part, it's just about getting back on the horse and just, doing what we do. It's just hard work.
And then going back to the Apex, like, was that pretty disappointing going from sold out arena on a pay-per-view to now just back to the lonely Apex?
It is what it is, man. I started my UFC career at the Apex, so nice little homecoming. I like fighting in Vegas, man. I like fighting in Vegas, whether it's at the Apex or it's at the T-Mobile Arena. Vegas is familiar to me. Like, it's familiar. It's almost like a second home, which is kind of weird to say, but like just from me being out there all the time and then my brother fighting and me being out there all the time with him, like it feels like a second home, and I'm totally cool with that because I know where everything is. I know like what I need during like fight week, and I know where to get it. I know my way around town. I know what I can and can't do. Like, I'm totally cool with Vegas. It's fine. I mean, yeah, it would have been cool to be in Canada and like front of like a crazy crowd like that. Like that'd have been awesome. But pick and choose, right? Pick and choose your battles.
With Khalil, like the kind of thing on his whole career is like you don't really know which Khalil shows up. Like there's been those kind of ones where like when he fought Eric Anders, like he dominated him. There's other ones.
Yeah, he looks phenomenal.
Like he doesn't want to be in there, but like as of late, he's looked very impressive. Like how do you kind of prepare for that? And, like what have you kind of made of the UFC run? Because it is like a tale of kind of 2 different fighters, and you don't really know which one shows up.
You don't. I mean, but you have guys who consistently show up and guys who, sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. I'm going to plan on him showing up. I'm going to plan on him being like the best version of himself because if I didn't, that's on me. And I'll probably end up like on a highlight reel or something. Like if I don't like think about that and like if I'm just like, he's not on his game today, I got this, I can relax. Next thing you know, I'm eating like a left body cake or something, or like a left high cake, and I'm waking up to Mark Smith saying that I'm cool, and like, yeah, I'm all right. But yeah, it's just about expecting the best guy to be across the cage from you, and if he's off for whatever reason, then that's on him. He's off. It's fighting. I'm trying to take away everything that you worked for and I worked for. Like I want to win, and if your girlfriend breaks up with you and you've had a shitty fight week and then you had a shitty weight cut and the fight's going to go shitty, well, guess what? Sucks to be you, dude, but this is fighting,
How much, like, do you think the fight changed at all being at the Apex in smaller octagon, or do you think it's still pretty similar to how it would have played out in the bigger octagon?
I mean, maybe a little bit more movement. The ranges are going to be a little bit different. It'll definitely be quicker. I would say quicker. Yeah, just because there's less space for him to move and less space for me to move. It's kind of forces the action a little bit more. But it's still a big cage, man. Like going from the regional scene to the UFC, like CFFC has a big cage, but I think even the Apex cage is bigger than CFFC's cage. So even fighting for them was like and then quote unquote the smaller cage is like you have so much room, man. Like, but it's just there's difference now because the guys can close that distance that much faster. Everyone's at the top of their game. Best guys in the world are be the most explosive, fastest guys in the world. So that's what makes it difference.
And then with something like people always talk about when cutting weight is like kind of has an effect on the chin if you cut a lot, but then on like the flip side, you're not getting hit by like a 200.
I'm not getting hit by a 300-pound
dude.
Yeah, I'm not like Derek Lewis was all of 300 pounds, if not bigger than 300 pounds when he punched me in my face. Like that dude is huge. Like you should have been like, don't fight him, and I would have been like, but yeah, I mean, as long as I do the weight cut properly, I mean, weight cutting is never, there's a certain science behind it and do's and don'ts. As long as I stick to that of, the do's and, rehydrating correctly and, not getting hit is going to be the biggest aspect of making sure my chin's good. So we'll figure it out.
Do you have a nutritionist or someone to help with the weight cut? Yeah.
Yeah. So like, obviously my strength and conditioning guy, Rich Bowler, he kind of helps me like while I'm here, but then I'm also talking to like John Poppy and like a couple other nutritionists because I wasn't sure. Obviously, the original fight was supposed to be for Vancouver. Poppy was originally unavailable for that week because I think he fought that week. So he wasn't going to be able to. So I had to like bounce ideas off of different nutritionists, and we were working with. And then for this one, Poppy's out in Vegas, so I'm just going to use Poppy. He's, we're already set up for everything like that, and we talk a little bit. So, yeah, we already have a game plan, and Poppy's the one who brought it up. He's like, dude, I might make 85, so you might see me at 185 soon enough. Never know.
You think?
Nah, joke, dude. Joke. It was
I was going to say, like, that would be pretty intense.
Joke, dude. No. I mean, I don't want to do it. But talking to that madman and that scientist, he's like, dude, you could probably make 85. I was like, well, probably not.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like much fun.
Yeah, I don't want to do that, dude. Like, this is like 205 is totally cool. Like, I got no problems, but I don't want to like suffer for like 10 weeks. I don't want to be in a diet camp getting ready for a fight. You know what I mean? I'd rather be in a fight camp getting ready for skill sets and stuff like that as opposed to eating iceberg lettuce for 10 weeks.
Do you wish you do you wish you kind of were light heavyweight your entire UFC career, or like do you kind of have no regrets starting out at heavyweight?
Nah, man, it is no regrets, right? No, I mean, I should have done sooner. I probably should have done it sooner. For the longevity of my career and like health, I probably should have taken it after the Derek Lewis fight, if I'm being honest. But like I said before when we were talking, like it's all about ego. Checking that ego and, being the fighter in which I can be and not the fighter that I wish I was, you know what I mean? So, no, I mean, it is what it is, dude. We all live, we all make choices, and these are the choices that I made. And I'm making this choice to go to 205 now, and we'll see how it goes.
How much pressure is on you going to this one? Like, obviously losing 3 in a row,
Zero.
like changing weight classes?
Zero.
Yeah?
Zero. There's no pressure. What pressure is there for me? What? There's no pressure. I thought I was getting cut after the last fight.
That is true. Yeah, I guess.
This is a blessing. This is a blessing right now. I have zero pressure. The pressure's all on him. You know why? Because he's inviting me down at 205. He's supposed to be like this, Khalil Roundtree. Everyone, he looked, like a world champion his last fight. He looked phenomenal. Well, against Dustin Jacoby, he beat a Dustin Jacoby guy who's, glory guy. He's, back and forth. And when he fought Andrews, he looked like a world beater there. He's striking. He's Bangkok ready. Everyone's talking him up. We'll see. All the pressure's on him. There's no pressure on me, man. I shouldn't be here right now. I thought I was getting cut the last fight. So this is a blessing, and I'm going to run through this, dude. I am focused. I am 100% ready to go, and I can't wait. I mean, the weight cut's going to suck, but once I get rehydrated and everything like that, dude, I'm trying to make a statement. I want to show people that, that this should have been a long time coming. And I should have just bit the bullet, stopped fighting my ego, and just did it a long time ago and make my run at 205.
Just kind of building off that, like obviously not get too much into the exact game plan stuff. Like, how do you kind of see it playing out?
You know what? It's a southpaw versus orthodox. We'll see how that goes. we're just gonna scrap, man. I know what he's gonna do. He doesn't take people down. He's just wings that left body kick. That left leg of his is super dangerous. He's all Muay Thai'd up. So we'll see how this fight goes, man. We'll go boxing against kickboxing, boxing with, Muay Thai. Let's go. Let's see who's better. I just want to get into a scrap with this dude.
What do you think a win over Khalil does for you? Like, you've been a guy that's been top 10 heavyweight. Like, he's ranked at light heavyweight. Like, I would imagine, like, you could get a big push again. But, like, do you want that, like, quick push up as you did at heavyweight? Or would you rather kind of work yourself up light heavyweight and kind of take it slow?
I kind of just want to take the fights that are available. I mean, the division is going to be moving forward now with Hill vacating the belt. So we'll see how, like, the upper echelon of the division settles itself, because then that's going to have a ripple effect down to everybody else. I beat Khalil. I take his spot. They push a guy out. They push him to 14 or 15 or whatever they're going to do. I don't know how they do the rankings. I'm not trying to learn how they do the rankings. It's just, it is what it is, dude. Like, I woke up with a number next to my name one day, and then I woke up with a number without it. It's just, it is what it is. But I just want to fight the best guys in the world. So when I beat him, and then if the UFC calls and says, hey, you got now number 6 guy, then I got whoever number 6 is. Like, it is what it is, dude. Like, I'm just here to fight. I'm here to win, and I want to be consistent and a force at 205.
And I'm fighting middle of August. Like, do you think you can get one more in, or do you think this might just be it? Like, it might just be one and done for you then this year?
I think it all depends on how the fight goes, right?
Yeah.
I think how the type of damage in which my body would take in this fight. I mean, if it's a 3-round back and forth fight of the night, fight of the year thing, we'll figure it out. Probably not, right? Like, probably not for the rest of the year. I don't want it to be that. I'm not looking for that. If it's a quick, like, first round, like, quick, as long as there's no injuries, I'll fight again and before the end of the year. I mean, Madison Square Garden sounds pretty cool. November 11th. I would definitely like to be on a John Jones Stipe pay-per-view card. Why not, right? Get on that pay-per-view card, the main card. Why not, right? Give me somebody who's a 205. I don't give a shit. Anybody.
Just 2 more things. Is obviously your brother's fighting for the middleweight title now in CFFC. Like, what was that kind of like to see him get that win in CFFC and now get a chance to reclaim his belt?
I was super nervous about that fight, just because, old stomping grounds and everything like that. He was super dominant, man. There was really no other. For people who didn't see it, he was in mount and had the guys back for like 4 minutes and like 30 seconds of the fight. Fight ended. Obviously, the dude's like a buzzer beater, catching chokes at like 1 second left of the round. That's like his thing now. So yeah, it's really good. I wish he would have had the title fight for his first fight back, but I think the champ was injured at the time, so they filled this guy in. And this was the only guy who took the fight with Kyle. So like, before Kyle fought this guy, he had numerous people who fought in big promotions.
Yeah, that's what he was telling me. Like, there were some big names he was telling me.
There were some very big names.
Yeah. Who
were like, no, I'm not fighting you. Or like, yeah, I'll fight you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not fighting you. It was kind of strange.
I know there was a big name that agreed to fight, then found out it was near Philly, and they're like, never mind. We're not fighting near his hometown.
Yeah, which is weird, right? I'm not one to judge, but it's a little weird, right? Like, you're a fighter, you're a big name. I was a little surprised by that one. I was actually very surprised by that one, if I'm being honest. It's kind of just weird, So kudos to the last guy for stepping up and taking it. But Kyle, I think, is just going to go back out there. I think he's fighting on September 2nd, and I think he just reclaims his belt. He just runs through this dude. I think Kyle should be back in the UFC, and I think it's only a matter of time before he either gets the short notice call for the UFC, or I don't know, dude, what the hell is going on with like Bellator or PFL? Like, if someone would call him, like, are they like merging? Are they not merging?
Yeah.
Like, is AJ like McKee like coming to the UFC? Like, are the Pitbull brothers coming to the UFC? Like, what is going on here, dude? Do you have any insight into this? Like, what is going on?
I could
because you're like, people are like fucking like other people's careers up. Like,
yeah, it's so
like, like if this merger is happening, let's get the merger happening. Let's get who's fighting in which division. Let's get who's staying in which company, and then let's sign some people, man. My brother needs some help out. Let's go UFC. Let's go Bellator. Let's go.
Just final thing, I forgot to bring this up last time we talked. Last time you fought, like most of the pay-per-views I have of my buddies over to watch. Some of them don't care for UFC. One guy's a big football fan, and he's like, "Holy shit, that guy looks like Ryan Fitzpatrick." Have you got that before?
Yes, I've gotten that like once or twice because of the beard. I am way better looking than Ryan. That dude's ugly as shit. I am way better looking than him. Way better.
Well, Chris, I appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much for doing this.
Of course, man. Anytime, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, we're joined by UFC featherweight Isaac Dulgarian, who's set to make his UFC debut in August. Isaac, how's it going, man?
I'm doing all right, brother. Just got done training, all that stuff. So just hanging out the rest of the day until later tonight.
You're obviously supposed to make that debut earlier this year in January. You've had to pull out. Like, how heartbreaking and kind of frustrating was that to have to pull out of that debut fight?
Man, it was really, really, really tough. I didn't want to pull out. I was asking all my coaches. I was like, what can I do to stay in? Doing everything I could possibly do. But the fact of the matter is I had a full thickness tear of my LCL in 2 different places. And it happened the week before I left. So there's really no coming back from that. And then I also had a little eye issue with the ophthalmologist. They said I had a hole in my retina, so I had to get that taken care of as well. So lots of heartbreaking stuff. I thought I was going to make that debut, and then all of a sudden it just came crashing down all on the same day.
Yeah, because you were already waiting a while to make the debut since once you got signed. So like that could have probably added, imagine, to the bit disappointing that it was even going to be pushed back even further.
Oh, yeah, it was rough for sure. Rough.
When were you fully cleared to train and take a fight then? Like, was this August timeframe like what you expected?
Yeah, so once I tore my knee, I ended up going back home to Ignite MMA, and I had to take 8 weeks off. I came back for 2 weeks. They told me to take the 8 weeks. I took the 8 weeks, got cleared, came back, and my knee popped again after 2 weeks of training. So I had to take another 8 weeks off. So this is August. I feel healthy. My knee's good to go, and everything's been good.
And then your opponent, Francis Marshall, like how familiar were you with him when you got the call to fight him?
I knew he fought one of my teammates, Marcelo Rojo, and knocked him out. Francis is a tough kid. He's very aggressive, very physical, and I think it's going to make for a good fight because we're both grappler-based. So I think we're going to see either a striking battle or see whose ego is better, get their ego tested in the wrestling.
I know you did train with Rojo like briefly. I know you're at Factory X now, right?
Yeah, I'm at Factory X.
Yeah, so I know he went out with like Safe with Moreno. So like, have you been able to talk to him about what he saw in there, like what kind of happened, or have you guys been able to communicate?
Nah, bro, I'm not too worried about that at all. I think that was his experience. That was his fight. This is my fight, you know. It's going to be different. Francis is going to be better than he was back then. I'm going to be better than I was in my last performance. So we'll just see how it plays out.
A ton of featherweights, lightweights, bantamweights, especially at Factory X. Like, who are the kind of the main guys you're working with for this one?
Oh, man, there's so many people. Yusuf Zalal, he's been a big help. Super dynamic striker. Chris Gutierrez. All the younger guys also help me out a lot, the guys that aren't well-known yet. Brandon Royval, he's been good for me. Martinez, he's been back home in Texas, so I haven't got to train with him, which I was looking forward to. But, yeah, those are the main guys I train with, and then all the younger guys that are up and coming, they've been helping me out a ton too. I mean, everybody out here is good.
I know it's obviously been a while since you last fought. So, like, how much different of a fighter do you think you are from back then? Because especially, like, for you, like, you're still very young in this game, like, very young in MMA, like, a year plus in the gym. Like, I imagine you can get leaps and bounds better. And it's been, like, almost, a year and a bit since your last fight.
Yeah. Honestly, bro, I'm like a completely different fighter. Technically wise, like, I understand the game a lot more than I did. Now, I'm still green, but I understand it a lot more than I did. I think at the time of my last fight, I'd only been fighting for 2.5, 3 years, you know? So that extra year is huge for me. Just getting the experience, getting the cage time out here and sparring and stuff like that. It's a big difference, man. So just technically wise, range control wise, and I'm just a smarter fighter.
And then with Francis, like, what did you make of his last fight? Obviously, a pretty close fight in his last one out when he lost to Gomez.
Man, I think he was having a hard time finding Gomez, but he's a really long, elusive striker as well. So I don't know, it was a good performance by both of them, but I feel like Gomez was the better man that night for sure, and he just didn't let Marshall impose his will until that third round, where Marshall finally got the takedown and almost finished the fight.
Do you think there's like a lot of people have kind of forgotten about you, or like the UFC fans don't know about you? So is there like any pressure to kind of like show off and show everyone like how good you are and why you were signed on that show again?
Oh yeah, bro. I mean, I got plenty to show. You know, I want to make a name for myself, so it's not really about them or people not knowing me. I just want to make a name for myself and perform, and that'll get me everything I needed. Especially with like the Nelk Boys thing and everything else going on. I think a good performance on August 12th is the key for me.
That is something we talked about last time. I was gonna bring it up later, but like since you just brought up with that Nelk Boys, like did that ever get finalized? That's still like kind of working through everything.
I don't think it is going to get finalized. As far as I know, they signed the Mike Malott dude, good dude. So I think they gave my contract to him. I have no idea why. I received a contract that had terms in it. They gave me almost like a fake contract the night that I won it. So, yeah, man, I'm just hoping to put on a good performance, and hopefully that deal comes back around.
Was that disappointing? Because obviously that was a big part of that whole show. And then with like Nelk, like they're around like our age, so like everyone's kind of knows them, and like if you're signed to them, like obviously that gives you a big push in your fights. Like, was that pretty disappointing that didn't come to fruition?
Yeah, bro, I thought I changed my life for real. Like, I was so happy because like before I even fought, there were like three other big finishes right before me, and like before I walked out that night, looking for a fight, I told myself I was like I have to do something special. One, to not only get the UFC contract, but also to get the Nelk Boys contract. And then I went out, I did my job, and finished the fight in phenomenal fashion in the first round. So I mean, I felt like I deserved it. I earned it. I did everything. I did my part. You know what I mean? I did my part. So that's all we can do is do my job and do the best I can. And hopefully they come around, man. It's just super disappointing to have to tell my family and my grandpa and everyone else that that deal's not happening.
Flip side is, I guess, obviously you're still with the UFC and making your debut. Are you a bit disappointed though that the debut is at the Apex? You're not in one of those sold out arenas.
I mean, yeah, I'll fight anywhere. Well, at first I was told that I thought it was going to be in Boston, so I was super excited, and then they changed. Like I got a text like 30 minutes later that said it was going to be the Apex. So, it is what it is, bro. I got to fight, I got to perform, and then they'll put me on those cards, those big sold out cards. So they just want to. I just got to get my feet wet, get in there, perform, and let the rest follow.
Do you worry about ring rust or anything? Just having not fought for like a year and a half.
I mean, a little, but also I'm out here at Factory A. We have a cage out here and stuff, and I get good rounds, so I don't think it's gonna make a difference. I mean, in the first place, I'm fighting with less experience than all these guys, anyways, so I don't think it's gonna matter. And also, I've been competing since I was 8 years old, so there's nothing new here. I compete every day in practice. I don't let people beat me up. I don't let people win. So it's gonna be the same thing on August 12th.
And I guess too is like you probably have more people watching you in the training room than there will be at the Apex anyways. It probably will just feel like a sparring session almost.
Yeah, right. For sure.
With this one, like Francis has shown he is pretty durable and like has obviously you have a ton of finishes. Like how do you kind of see it playing out?
I mean, honestly, bro, it could play out a ton of different ways. Normally, when you see two grapplers go together, you see a striking contest. If he wants to grapple, I'm down to grapple. We'll see how it goes. You know, I'd love to get another first-round finish, make that 10 fights total in my career, amateur and pro, 10 first-round finishes. You know, I'd love to get started like that in the UFC. But if we have to fight 3 rounds, bro, I've been training. I'm ready for 3 rounds, and we'll just see what happens. I can't make a prediction, but I think it's going to be a good fight.
Do you think because you have all those first round finishes, like people will just assume you have bad cardio? Like I kind of see it all the time with fighters when they get all the finishes. Everyone's like, "Oh, just wait until they get to the second and third round. Like they'll be gassed out." Like, is that something nice to have too? Is in your back pocket of like people don't really know what your cardio like or what you're like in that second and third round?
Yeah, bro. People don't know really much about me at all. All my fights have been finished basically the same way. So a lot of people haven't seen my striking skills. A lot of people haven't seen my full grappling game. So I think my debut is a good chance to showcase that against a tough opponent as well.
Just final thing, you get past Francis. Like, what do you think a win does for you? Like, what's kind of the goal for the rest of the year then?
Man, it boosts me up so that I can fight in the arenas and hopefully get that good finish, make some money, and just set me up to fight later this year, hopefully at the end of the year. After I fight, I got to go to Kansas City for a little bit, but maybe like a month, maybe a little less. But then I'm going to come straight back out here to factory and start training again and just see what comes my way.
Well, Isaac, I appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much for doing this again.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
Always.
All right, we're joined by UFC featherweight Francis Marshall, who's back in action against Isaac Dulgarian in August. Francis, how's it going, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Like, obviously, coming off that close loss back in April, the split decision. Like, looking back, like, what do you take away from that fight? Because, like, a very close competitive fight that really could have gone either way.
Yeah, a lot of it is just more sticking with the game plan that we prepared for that fight. So that third round is how the first two rounds should have looked had I stuck more to that game plan and pulled the trigger sooner. So I kind of got caught up on the feet, kind of worried more about what he was doing and chasing. And he was doing, I mean, I'm sure it was his game plan to stay away, throw the kicks, take steps back, throw one punch, throw one kick. So he stuck to his game plan. I didn't really stick to mine until the third round. So going into the future, that's what we're going to do. Just stick to the game plan and stick to what got me there.
Obviously, you never want to lose a fight. Like, imagine you wanted to go undefeated your whole career, but like, are you kind of glad now, like, that it did happen? Like, that was a good learning experience for you to have, like, so kind of early in your career where it doesn't happen later down the line?
Yeah, I think it was a really good lesson because had I won that fight, say, on that close split decision, say it was a split decision my way, maybe I would have looked at it as like, all right, I could get away with it a little bit more, or like I don't really have to stick 100% to the game plan. I could kind of try my own thing in the first round, drift how we're feeling. But now it's just locked into the game plan, all 3 rounds, all 15 minutes.
And with that one, like, why do you think you drifted away from your game plan there?
I think his legs were a little longer, and I didn't expect him to be going back as much. So he was backing up a lot, and then I kind of got caught up with the punches, trying to land punches on him instead of trying to work the takedown. So that's where it kind of went wrong.
And then returning, like, not even a full 4 months later, like, how kind of happy are you with this turnaround? Like, a pretty quick one for you.
I'm pretty stoked. I mean, I love to fight. Every 3 months is ideal for me to get 4 in a year, but obviously it doesn't always happen that way. So right after that fight, I was kind of on him about getting me another one as soon as possible, and then they sent us this one back in June. So and then I hopped right on it.
And with Isaac Dulgarian, like, how familiar are you with him? Like, obviously making his UFC debut here. I know, like, he won that Nelk Boys thing, and then it kind of fell through. So, like, they had some hype behind him, and he's kind of been off the sideline for an injuries for a while.
Yeah, I didn't really know much about him before getting the fight. I kind of obviously did my research, looked at his other fights and stuff. Tough kid. I mean, all first round finishes. So, I mean, it reminds me a lot of my Contender Series fight with Connor Matthews. He was coming in 5-0 as well, all first round finishes. So, I mean, he's obviously has some talent.
With Isaac, like, what do you make of that? Like, even his amateur career are all first round finishes. Like, I think his longest fight's like 3 minutes and a couple seconds. Like, what do you kind of like take away from that? Like, going to that one, like, is it something where like we haven't really seen him face adversity? We haven't seen what his cardio is like. Like, for you, like, is that something you plan on trying to test to see what he's really like if he gets out of that first round?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like the longer that fight goes or any fight, I feel like it's more my waters. I'm not ever worried about going to the later rounds. I feel like that's where I thrive more in the second and the third rounds, where I really pick it up and able to put the pressure on my opponent. And then, I mean, him coming in with all first round finishes, it obviously means he's capable of finishing. He's quick, could be dangerous. But I don't think he's fought anyone the same as me yet.
And he is a pretty good grappler. Like that's kind of what he's known for. He did show power in his last fight, though. It's like with you, you obviously a very good grappler yourself. Kind of when that happens, it turns into these striking fights. Like, do you think that's what's gonna happen here? Or do you think you guys will kind of hit the mat at some point?
I'm sure it'll hit the mat, and I'm sure it'll be a lot on the feet as well. When you get just like what was it last weekend with Paul Craig and
Yeah.
Two great grapplers, and turns into a striking fight. So it could go either way. It's probably either going to be mostly grappling or mostly on the feet.
And then for like Isaac, he hasn't fought since February 2022. Like it's a pretty long layoff. Like how do you think that will impact him? Like pretty still so like young in his career where like not fighting that long. Like do you think there'll be ring rust there?
I mean, there definitely could be. It's a lot coming into the UFC for your first fight in 18 months or whenever it was. I mean, it's a lot to fight after 18 months to begin with, and then coming into the UFC on your debut, I feel like that adds a little bit more nerves in you. So, I mean, I'm sure some people handle it better than others, but I mean, that's in his court.
For you, did you change anything training wise for this one? Is it kind of the same group you always been working with?
Same group I've always been working with, and didn't change anything up. It's not the last one wasn't on my corners, wasn't on my coaches, teammates, nothing. It was all on me on that one.
Out in New Jersey, right, for your training?
Yeah, yep, New Jersey.
For you, like, what's that kind of like? Like, you kind of see New Jersey. It had like Frankie, it had all these guys, and then for a while there wasn't a whole lot of people coming up from New Jersey. And then it's like you coming up, like Aaron Blanchfield's coming up from New Jersey. Like, what's like for you? Where it's kind of like this next wave is finally getting to the UFC for New Jersey.
Yeah, I think it's great putting New Jersey back on the map. I mean, you obviously have like all these super camps in Florida and stuff, but I mean, it's always nice to see more people coming out of this small state. I think it's just the regional scene up here has a ton of talent, so I think that's why a lot of the fighters get pulled into the UFC.
Were you disappointed not to be on that Newark card?
Yeah, we were trying to get. I already had my fight booked when they announced that location, and then we tried to get it pushed back a little bit, but obviously contracts already signed. It's a little more difficult than just pushing it back 2 weeks, I guess.
Would that kind of be the like ideal spot for you, or would like I guess MSG is still pretty close to November? Like, are those kind of the two that you'd like to be on one day then?
Yeah, MSG, Newark, Wells Fargo Center, anywhere really around that I mean I could get. I mean I could definitely get a good crowd at MSG, Wells Fargo Center, pack it out for the prelims and stuff like that.
And being back at the Apex, like, is that disappointing for you, or are you back there, or do you kind of enjoy it now at this point?
I'm not gonna say disappointing. Obviously, I'd rather fight in front of fans and in an arena at a location, but I'm not gonna be disappointed. At the end of the day, I get to fight in the best organization in the world, so there's nothing to be disappointed on when you put the gloves on and they have UFC on the back of them.
Are you surprised to be fighting Isaac? Like, I was kind of surprised with the booking, like only 24, like the same age as me, and like you're fighting Isaac who's 27, like making his debut. Like I figured they'd kind of keep two of you guys away just because you guys are kind of young in the division.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I would be fighting maybe someone who was a little more, maybe already had a couple fights in the UFC, a little more developed, but it's fine with me. I'm not going to pick and choose and beg for different fights. I'll just take whatever they give me.
Is there a lot of pressure on you going to this one, just coming off a loss? Like, I know it's normally like 3 losses UFC, but you kind of never really know with Contender Series starting back up. Like, is there pressure on you to get a win here?
Yeah, I mean, I feel definitely a little bit like my back's against the wall. Obviously, you don't want to go 1-2 in the UFC on a 2-fight slump. That doesn't look good at all. And then you never know, you get cut at any time. So, but with the pressure, I feel like I thrive with the more pressure I have. So I feel like this is going to be a great fight for me.
How do you kind of see it playing out? Like, we kind of talked about, like, you two are both pretty good grapplers. Yeah, obviously has a lot of first round finishes, but we've never really seen him be extended. It's like, how do you kind of see it playing out?
I see the first round being more of like a close, tougher round, working for takedowns, working takedown defense and stuff like that. And then as the fight goes on to that second round and even maybe into the third, I think that's where I'm just going to take over the fight, keep the pressure on, maybe gas him out. My cardio feels phenomenal, so I could go all night.
Do you kind of use cardio as like a weapon? Like Billy Quarantillo, for example, like whenever I talk to him, like he always says like he enjoys when these fights gets late because he knows he can bank on that. Like, is that going to same with you where it's like not even a concern and like you're fine going to the third round with these guys and like trying to drag them into that deep waters?
Yeah, 100%. It's never a concern for me. If anything, it's more of an advantage. Like if I could get them into the third round and if I feel myself breathing a little bit heavy, I know they're definitely tired because no one's going to out cardio me, out tire me,
With the smaller cage at the Apex, I know that's what you've really only fought in. Like, how do you think that plays a role in the fight? Because it kind of does push you guys two together.
Yeah, I think that makes it more of that wrestling grappling style, because there's not a lot of room to kind of run around, kind of move around a little bit. So it kind of gets you right in there against each other. And I mean, probably going to be a lot of work on the cage.
You go in there, finish Isaac. Like, what do you think that does for you? Like, obviously bounce back in the win column, but 2-1 in the UFC. Like, where do you think that kind of puts you in the division?
I think it puts me in a great spot to get another fight, maybe in MSG in November. I'm hoping for in December if they put me on. So I think get in there, get a finish, get out, and then get my next fight booked for the winter.
And right in the crowd too, because you were an exciting guy on the contender series. Like, I thought they would put you in front of these fans right away.
Yeah, I had Orlando my first one.
Yeah.
And then now 2 in a row at the Apex, but it is what it is.
And it's not even like the Orlando fight was like boring or anything. It's like you showed out, and then I figured they just kind of keep you out there. So I was surprised you're back at the Apex.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping to stay out there. I mean, obviously in April I was trying to get on Kansas City first, and then they sent me to the Apex, and then try to get on Newark. They said no. Now I was trying to get on Boston or Nashville, and then they stuck me right in the middle of the two.
And with Isaac too, like, just because you have that UFC experience, like, what do you think that's going to be like for him kind of making that first walk? Because I know obviously it is the Apex, it's not the sold arena, so it is a bit different, but like just kind of seeing UFC on your gloves, it kind of changed things. Like, do you think that will impact him at all?
It might. It definitely could. It definitely could mess with you mentally a little bit, like with the nerves and stuff, with the whole process, even not just fight night, but fight week, going through the media stuff, the pictures, the videos, the weigh-ins, like just everything together. But with it being at the Apex, I think might help him out a little more, break him in a little bit, because it's not in that giant arena. So it might not really affect him too much.
Just a couple more things with featherweight. Like, you're already a pretty good sized featherweight at 24. Like, do you think like eventually you'll have to go to lightweight like once you fill it, or like you can kind of stay at 45 for your career?
I think if I maintain this physique and size, I'd be able to stay at featherweight. Yeah. Those guys at lightweight are pretty big. Like, you see how Dustin Poirier went from featherweight to lightweight. Now he's huge at lightweight, so I'd have to really fill out a lot.
Just final thing, you kind of touched on it a bit, but like, what is kind of the goal then the rest of the year? Like, I imagine you probably want to re-sign, just because I know most contracts are 4 fights. Like, you probably don't want to fight out that last one, but what's kind of like the next year kind of look like for you ideally?
Finish this fight, get on MSG in November, and then re-sign my contract with the UFC, and then maybe fight again in February or March, and then just keep racking them up as the next year goes on, every 3 to 4 months.
Well, Francis, I appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me.